we've said this on the show before, but it seems like India have now figured out how to actually play T20s after winning the T20 World Cup. So we saw what happened in that South Africa series, and we saw the same approach yesterday against England, where India went out all guns blazing against that modest total set by England. So there was no anchoring as such as we used to see previously. Of course, India had the better conditions and India had the better bowlers for the conditions, but you would expect that going forward in this series. But my question to you, Ayaz, is at the moment, given India's problems in the test arena, do you think T20 is India's best format right now?
Without a doubt, I mean, we won the World T20 World Cup in the manner in which the Indian team has been playing since the World Cup victory. Remember that after the World Cup, three major players have retired from T20, which is Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and Ravindra Jadeja. But there's no slackening of the T20 prowess that we've seen in the Indian team. It's just grown exponentially, in my opinion, with the influx or induction of some really good, exciting young talent, which to look it's a given at this point, Anirudh, that we in T20 certainly there was a great need for young legs and young lungs. Now, after the T20 World Cup, I thought some of the oldies themselves sensed that there are better options now available. So Rohit, Virat, and Jadeja moved aside, so to speak. And what we've seen is people like Abhishek Sharma coming in, Varun Chakravarthy coming into his own, Arshdeep Singh, of whom so much was made that why has he been included and Mohammad Siraj left out. He showed in the first match why exactly he is there. So he's a wicket-taking bowler. He bowls well at the start with the new ball. He bowls well at the death, and he's a real find. So I think to answer your question, in the affirmative, I think India's T20 prowess seems to be way ahead of what they've shown in red ball cricket.
Yeah, and you spoke about Arshdeep Singh. He, of course, almost set up that game for India with this initial spell, and he has now become India's highest wicket taker in T20Is, which seems to be all of a sudden, but he's done that with far fewer games than what his other competitors had done. So, and then you saw, of course, saw a new and improved Varun Chakravarthy, who's relying more on overspin now than side spin, and the England batters had no clue. So, what did you make of that bowling performance as a whole?
I think the bowling was very impressive. Actually, I mean, India's, the highlight will obviously, or the spotlight was more on Abhishek Sharma for the daring do and the bravado with which he batted. But remember, the total that India were chasing was quite modest, 132. So it wasn't such a serious challenge for the batsmen. Though I must say that Surya Kumar Yadav getting dismissed for a blob was a bit of a setback. But I think really this victory was fashioned by the bowlers, despite somebody like Hardik Pandya actually proving to be quite expensive in his opening spell. He came back to pick up a couple of wickets, which shows how good he also is in this format. But it's really the bowlers, and starting with Arshdeep Singh, because we were actually a bowler short, a fast bowler short. And then Akshar Patel picking up wickets and Varun Chakravarthy. So I thought overall it was a fantastic performance by the bowlers, and that's at least playing in India. It seems to be the strength of the team. The batting, obviously, you assume that will come good in conditions that they are familiar with. But bowlers who generally come under a lot of, they can be hit out of the park in this format. And even yesterday we saw that the boundaries were pretty short. 55, 58, 60 yards. It means punishment for the bowlers for them to hold their nerve, come back, and Jos Butler aside, they actually flummoxed the rest. So that really was India's triumph, keeping England down to a very gettable score.
Yeah, and of course, talking about the batting, Sanju Samson got off to a good start, but it was all about Abhishek Sharma, who played a sunrisers innings for India. And props to the young man and props to team management for allowing him to play in this such a manner because, like I said at the top of the episode, like a few years of maybe a few months ago, when the Indian team was set something like a 130, 140 target, you would expect them to anchor a bit and then get into the chase slowly. But this guy was going from ball one, and that's how he plays, and now probably that's how he should be allowed to play. But do you think if he fails a couple of times, do you think he will be asked to mellow down, or this is the new approach?
I hope not. I mean, you want Abhishek Sharma to play
Yeah.
the way he sees best or the way he enjoys himself best, and he obviously has to deliver results. You can't say that you just keep making a series of low scores and then still expect to be chosen. That's not going to happen. Not don't forget, there's so much serious competition for all these places. Despite Rohit and Virat and Jadeja not being there, there's serious competition for the batting places. So a left-hand batsman at the top. Even Yashasvi Jaiswal is a candidate. He's also a candidate for all three formats. Abhishek Sharma, mentored by Yuvraj Singh, he's got that spunky approach. He's got that free-flowing swing of the bat. It comes up from a good height, and then the follow-through itself is high. He loves the big shots, and we've seen that in the last IPL when he's playing for Hyderabad that he can be destructive. So he's got a very wide range of strokes, and he's got a great eye and reflexes. I think he's got the aptitude as well as the swag, for excelling in this format. I hope he's not kind of held back, not restrained from playing the way he thinks or he does it best. I mean, I wish somebody like a Sanju Samson gets going and makes runs because one does feel for him. He's been around for so long, and you ask anybody, his contemporaries, his peers, his opponents, his seniors, those who've seen him for a long while, and they all seem to agree. There's unanimity in the belief that he's a terrific player. Now, the only problem that Sanju's had throughout his career that his successes have been sporadic. So it's like a ECG graph rather than a consistent line where he's had a couple of in the last series against South Africa he had a couple of centuries back to back, so to speak. But somewhere he's missing out on that consistency which keeps him in the news and the headlines for far longer. I say that advisedly in the headlines because right now players who make an impact get all the attention. So unless you make impact consistently, it gets more and more difficult for a guy like Sanju Samson. I hope he comes back in the remainder of the series. But otherwise, the only other person I would think of wanting to see early enough is Mohammad Shami. He didn't play at Kolkata. There was a bit of a furor as to why he's not being chosen with all the brouhaha that accompanied his inclusion in the squad, but I think he'll get a chance sooner rather than later. And I also feel that that's not the best assessment for Mohammad Shami to judge whether for fitness, yes, for form, perhaps we'll have to wait till the ODI series because that's where bowlers like Shami and Bumrah and even to an extent Siraj, because the length of the match also brings into fore their experience and their caliber.
Yeah, and so lastly, now, what do you expect from the visitors? Because we saw them roll over last night, but still have 4 more matches to go, and conditions are not going to be in their favor.
I think a lot depends on Jos Butler. I mean, we saw even in the first match, he was pivotal to England. I mean, he made a half century and the rest didn't really add up to much. I think somebody like an Atkinson who's had such a wonderful year for England in virtually all formats, he needs to come good because he can bat and he can bowl. Jofra Archer is another player who they'll be looking at to come good. Adil Rashid, who should revel in these conditions if it's helping the spinners and helping the Indian spinners, it should also help Adil Rashid. So I think that their all rounders need to come good. So and I'm looking forward to some exciting batting from Harry Brook. We didn't see that in the first match, but hope he's along with Jaiswal and some of the others. He's that crop of young batsmen, global batsmen who are enriching the sport. So one wants to see him score runs and make England's scores more competitive. When in the first match they looked really, they were just kind of steamrolled over.
Yeah, and I think credit where credit's due. I mean, for all the trouble he's had in the test matches, Gautam Gambhir is still the coach of this team. So if you're going to complain about him in the test matches, you should give him his flowers here, right?
Yeah, I think there's too much of scrutiny, which is fine. Scrutiny must be there, but sometimes the scrutiny is just too harsh. And it's very is incessant. So it doesn't allow whether it's a player or a coach enough elbow room. I'm not saying that to justify failures, but I think that for every decision taken, I mean, if Shami is not taken, then Gambhir is responsible. If despite Shami not being there, India wins, then it's come through some other bowler who Gambhir, whether he agreed to him or not. All kinds of speculative theories going on. I think we'll have to wait and see. Give him a whole series, 5 matches in the series, then the ODIs, and a tenure for a coach also can't be assessed only in 4, 5, 6 months. We've had a dismal series of Australia, which has accentuated, I think, the problems Whether these problems will spill over into the white ball cricket, I'm not so sure. We'll have to wait and see how it goes.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, 4 more T20s to come up, and we'll come back to you after the next one. So that's it for this episode of Sports Room. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Anirudh. Catch up.